Stephen Taylor is Professor of Physical Electronics at Liverpool University. As well as lecturing, he's also deeply involved in research and design, in particular the miniaturization of mass spectrometers used in security, medical and environmental applications. But that's not his only passion. At the age of 57, he's also a man with a mission to show that science, far from being an enemy of Christianity, is its friend. How he came to this conviction is a story which began when he was a teenager.
This is the Liverpool skyline, one of the most famous in the world. I was brought up here. I lived most of my life here. The river's got a lot of memories for me. I remember being fascinated as a small boy looking at the size of the ropes and the chains that would pull the Mersey ferries in to the harbour. I've always been interested in science and making things, building things, fixing things, repairing things, whether it's bikes, whether it's trying to build radios. When I was about 14 or 15, I think I'd rejected the idea of God and would have called myself an atheist. I remember a conversation with my bigger brother, and he asked me the question, well, if you're an atheist, you believe in matter before mind. He said, I don't believe in that. For this universe must have had a mind before matter. Well, I didn't say anything at the time, but actually I found that argument completely convincing. There must be someone behind the design and order that we see in the universe. And at that point, I think, I abandoned any atheism and became one of those who was searching for God. What helped me to faith in Christ was to see people of my age who'd come to a personal faith in the risen Christ. And he'd clearly changed their lives in a big way. And I was very impressed with this. I remember coming to a point where I prayed a prayer to ask Christ to forgive me for my sins and to come into my life and to be my personal saviour. Immediately, my life changed. I had an inner peace and an assurance that I was right with God. The big issue, almost immediately afterwards, was, well, how can I believe in the Bible and be a scientist? I mean, after all, hasn't science disproved the Bible? Hasn't it shown that we've all evolved over millions of years from ape-like creatures? The Bible speaks about Adam and Eve. This was a real issue for me. How that was resolved was that I met a Christian who was a scientist, who was further on than I. He was actually a medic at Oxford, 4 grade A's, and as a student there, he was able to show me that really there's no conflict between proven factual science and the biblical account. But actually, there's a lot of scientific facts which don't stack up with those who would take an atheistic position on the science. Atheism is actually illogical in my view. What we're saying here, the naturalistic worldview, nothing plus no one equals everything. Now that's an unscientific, unproven philosophy, and that shouldn't be taught as science. And we should teach students at school to think critically about that which is taught to them in science lessons. I find no conflict between any proven fact of science and what I read in the Bible. And I find actually that the things that I see around me, the things that I discover, the order, the fine-tuning of the universe, all of these things point to me, to a master designer who put it all together.